Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Whitney. I'm the Vice Chair of Historic Districts Commission. Welcome to the April 16th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The Commission will review 8 new applications and 1 item under other business. We have a very full agenda tonight, so everybody, if you would, just please be aware of that when you speak. We're conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. We have some feedback. If everybody could just check their mute button, because we're getting some noise, if you would. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the Commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to preserve bandwidth, may need to turn off video with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. The chair will call on commissioners for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with the conditions, or to reject. There will be a second, and then I will conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. Roll call, Lewis.
Present.
Bill Hewitt.
Here.
Walter Clay.
Here.
Catherine Mast.
Here.
And I don't believe Belinda has joined yet. Belinda, are you there by chance? Okay. And then myself, Tim Whitney, that is a quorum of 5. If I have that correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. So we will be the voting members for tonight. So plunging right in, we'd like to start with 100 Keyes Road, Unit 315, to remove and replace existing patio door and transom and install new exterior trim. We've seen many of these. I imagine it has to be Scott Thayer presenting. Scott, if you would be ready to present. And again, we still have feedback from someone. If you could just check your mute button. I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Scott, are you the presenter?
I am.
I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Scott Thayer. I'm here representing Ann Brady, 100 Keyes Road, unit number 315. We are proposing to remove the existing patio door and transom, as well as the related trim within the existing masonry opening, and install an Anderson Frenchwood 400 series gliding patio door with new transoms, new trim, and to paint the exterior to match the existing. This is consistent with all of the past replacements.
So this is identical to what you've done before, Scott?
It is, yes.
Is there any drawing at all that was submitted?
There was a picture of the door itself, a description of the materials being used. There's no architectural drawing, no.
Okay. I will. Can you, Kim? Could you just show the photo, if you would? So I think you've even discussed this before, almost doing it administratively, but we are being thorough in reviewing this. Scott, I assume same color, etc., correct?
Yes. to match everything else. Yep.
Right. Any comments, questions from the commission?
Just curious why you were replacing it.
I'm sorry.
Why you were replacing it? Is it rotting or?
Yes, they're no longer holding back the weather, and many parts are rotting and they're hard to operate. So they've been going through this for many years, and we are at near the end now. There's only less than a half a dozen left after this, I think, in the whole building. So,
Got it. Thanks.
We seem to see this about once every 6 months. It seems like.
yeah, that's about right.
Any other comments from the commission?
No.
Do we have any comments or questions from the public? I don't see any comments or questions. Could we have a motion?
I'll move we approve the application for 100 Kais Road.
I have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Louis. We'll go in order. Louis, for voting.
I'm an aye. Yes.
Bill,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. And so this has been approved. Thank you, Scott. You all set, Scott?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is 440 Main Street, Gregory King, Main Street Historic District, to remove an existing pergola, which I understand is in the backyard, and replace with a pavilion more or less in the same location. Is this being presented by Gregory King?
That's right. Can you hear me all right?
We can, yes, thank you.
So thank you. Let me start with let me get the site plan up. And am I sharing the screen right now?
You can if you'd like,
Let's see.
or we can run it as well.
Yeah, let's see. Where's my share? Sorry about that. There we go. So you got this plot plan there? Everyone see that?
Yes,
Okay. Context pretty easy. There's Main Street. The property, the topography, you don't see here, but this property slopes down as you move down to the back of the property. I'm surrounded on the back by the church and on the side by the church over here. So both those sides. And there's a pergola there now that is indicated here in this small box. In the larger box is the proposed pavilion. And if you're seeing this okay, this is just, some easy renderings here. A hip roof with a very typical pavilion style. About 14 feet high at the highest, at the peak of that roof. And I'm happy to pause at any time if anyone's got any comments on these things. I want to try to give you a little
Just fact
context.
question. The
yeah.
long dimension that's called front is from Main Street.
That's right, because when you look at the long side, the front, if you will, is along here, 20, 25 there, 20 feet this way.
So the hip is visible from Main Street.
I don't think so. Like I say, it's 14 feet high. It's hard to even see, even this garage, which is much higher.
No, I didn't mean that as a criticism. I'm just factually, I think if you're standing on the corner of the lot there to the left of Main on the drawing. all
I
mean
don't
is
think
that
so.
It's
Yeah, with all,
oriented
yeah,
such that you can see the hip.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Part of the reason is because there's a fence here,
Mhm.
at the corner of the, sort of in the middle of the property. And then because it slopes so far downward, I don't think, even if you were to stop there on the sidewalk and kind of look, I don't think so. But, because even this garage, when I'm over on Main Street here by my driveway, you only see the top of this garage over here. So, but anyway,
Thank you.
you may be able to see it. I don't,
I have a question related. Have you put up a post or anything to see how high it actually reads from Main Street?
no.
Okay, so it's purely conjecture.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Have you looked at a map to see if it's a 14-foot drop from the street?
I have not,
Okay.
because I want to try to put the height in context also. And I think this is a picture, if you can see this picture here, this photo.
Yeah,
So we've got a massing of buildings here. This church, the new part of the Episcopal Church, they call it the new piece, built in the 60s, is really right on top of my property. There was an interesting land swap years ago when they were building that with the woman who lived here to take this property back here so they could, build that. But you've got that roof line. You've got the church's new, I call it the new stuff. This was built probably, was it 10, 15 years ago, maybe, back here. And then you can see the existing pergola, but, the 14 feet wouldn't even come close to the height of this garage here, so that nor some of the other buildings here and the other roof lines, so that I wanted to put the context of whether you could see it in context for this discussion here. I'm going to move away from this photo and these are probably less impactful, kind of from ground view, the existing pergola, and then the church, the massive church structures beyond. And then from another view from the, looking west. And that house you see over there is on River Street, actually, that yellow house. So you can even see the existing pergola now from River Street in the wintertime. Absolutely. If you were to stop there and, look, you're going to see that, but you can also see everything else. And
do you
what I
have a
mean by
shot from Main Street, Gregory?
No, I don't.
Do you have a guess of what the grade is at the pergola relative to Main Street, how much of a drop it might be?
That was my question.
No. No, I'm not skilled enough probably in that. I mean, I'm going to say maybe 10 or 15 feet, but I'm really not sure.
Should I bring up Google Maps? Would that help? Would you like to see Google Maps?
Yeah, I think we're missing a photo from Main Street, really is. I thought there was one in the submission. Or maybe I took it from my phone. I'm not sure.
Yeah, do you want me to pull up Google and see if I can?
Okay.
We've got the image right here. And yeah, Ann, can you go further so we can see the garage relative to, yeah, thank you. Perfect. I don't think it's a 10-foot drop, but it might be a 6-foot or something, or just a guess. So that's the garage. And then, Ann, could you just swing back to the other view corridor?
Here.
Yeah,
Great.
perfect. So it's like right in, yeah, right there is.
Can you even see the pergola from this view?
That's what I'm saying. Over that fence, you could probably, but again, what you see more prominently is the roof structure of the new church building. But it's tough to really see anything that's back there. And of course, that view disappears very quickly as you move along either direction of Main Street you happen to be going.
How tall is the pergola now? Do we
I want
know?
to say 10 feet.
But you don't know.
No,
Okay, so if you're talking about 14 feet, you're putting 4 feet higher than what's there. So it's sort of immaterial whether you can see the pergola above the fence or not. So we don't know how high it is or how high the other structure would be.
yeah, the 14 feet would be the structure height.
Right, but we don't know visually how that would
Oh,
hit, since we don't know the height of the pergola.
Has there been, I'm maybe reading the minds of other commissioners, but I think we have a little bit of concern about the height and size of this hip roof on 4 small columns. That's my concern. I understand, I understand there's not much visible, even your garage is not very visible, but has there been any consideration by you or your architect of creating a pergola with a flattish roof that still is covered, which is often done so that there's the house and there's the garage as the roofs, and then the pergola is still more of a garden structure rather than quite a large hip roof. Has that been considered?
well, a flat roof, you have snow load issues.
Yeah.
There are other issues. I've had a pergola with, it happens to have a thing that slides across, a vinyl thing that slides across that is not very useful. I've lived with it for 14 years. I guess I want to, maybe if we could take this conversation from, can you see it or not? Because absolutely, if you walk around the neighborhood and peek from various perspectives, you're going to see something. But can we talk about what else you see if existing, and whether adding a hip roof to that would be inappropriate?
Yeah, your house is, I think it's a gable roof, and there's the garage is basically a gable roof, right?
That's right.
So the hip roof is because of the Episcopal Church, maybe?
No, hip roof was recommended by the architect in when you're on the ground level. I guess I don't know if you guys are seeing my screen share right now, but when you
Yeah.
when you think about this photo from the ground level, we didn't feel a big gable roof was appropriate here. We wanted to sort of minimize the visual impact, I guess.
Yeah.
I would have to defer to the architect and people who are maybe better at that aesthetic, but I think that was the purpose, was to not have another big gable roof there.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the rationale, which I think is bottom line for thinking here, that the hip isn't radically different from the gable in terms of its impact, given its height. And I understand that Tim's saying it could be a flat roof. It could also be a much more mildly sloped roof to let snow and ice come off without having it be whatever, 4 feet, 5 feet, whatever it is for the hip. Mr. Chairman, can I make maybe 2 suggestions
Yeah.
based on this conversation? First is, I think a site visit would be appropriate with a site pole that is at or 2 of them, that it's the height of the top of the roof, maybe on either end. And the second, that we ask the applicant for alternative silhouettes, if you will, perhaps a gable version. Because it's an interesting question, do you match the building you see in the background, albeit the hip is much more severe in the proposed pergola, or you match the house, which is gable? I think it's hard to make the decision if we don't see elevations of those alternatives.
Well, let me tell you that, I mean, hip roofs became popular in the Georgian era of the early 1800s. So if you want to talk about historic context or whatever, I mean, doesn't that fit? Because to make the architectural decision about you would prefer a gable back here, it's hard to hang your hat on that just from a historic standpoint. So, you know, you're going to get 5 people come over here and have different ideas about what they'd like to do with my backyard, but, you know, I guess I've got to caution against that.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is I don't think there's really, I can't think of any precedent of a pavilion of just 4 columns supporting quite a large roof in Concord. I mean, especially in a historic reference, so we could talk about roof shapes, but it's essentially a shade structure with just 4 columns. So, and also I agree with Bill. We really don't know the visuals. There's not a photograph presented of what you see from the street, so we just don't know. So I would suggest that a site visit would be appropriate to have, just to have at each end of the building have a 14-foot, whatever it is, a 14-foot line. I know that the hip is sloping in off the ends, but at least we get a sense of where does this sit relative to looking from one side of the house and looking from the other.
Do you mind if I ask what's the issue with the 4 columns?
I mean, I don't per se have a problem with the 4 columns. I'm just saying that there's no precedent that I'm aware of historically in Concord that has this type of shade structure, especially with a 20-foot span, which is quite a long span between columns. So but I think I mean, I'm not going to be objecting to that, given the fact that it's so far back. If this was more prominent on the street, I'd say that's an unusually long span for wood frame construction for a
Right.
hip
Okay, let me
roof.
address that. Okay, I see where you're going with this. So that's a structural concern, and the structural
Structural
engineer.
No, and visual,
and visual. I'm really
Oh.
talking visual.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say you can accomplish 2 beams with two columns with a steel beam.
Oh yeah, no, you can do it. I'm just saying,
Okay, so listen, I'm also happy to throw a middle column in. In fact, the architect and I talked about that, not so much for visual purposes, but for structural purposes. If for cost savings, you know, it might be cheaper to do wood and just add another column than go steel. So I don't so much have a problem with another column, I guess. Okay, I would just want to straighten that out.
Yeah, I mean, I want to hear what the other commissioner members think, but I do think the building would be more historically appropriate with another column on the long wall. It just looks kind of spare and thin.
Sure.
And you're not going to find this building in Concord. I just don't think, especially in a historic district. So, I think you're hearing, we do have some concerns about the roof. We need to know what it looks like. So if you could, we'd ask you to look at adding a center column on both sides on the long side, and also putting up 14-foot markers at each end that we could come look at, which we would look at on the 3 weeks from today, in the morning, first thing, so we can see, is this pretty much truly invisible or not? Rest of the committee, how do you feel? Does that sound right?
Yeah,
I'll go. I think a site visit is entirely appropriate. The question about
the columns on the end and the scale of the roof is it's an awful lot of roof for what seems to be fairly small supports. That's really the concern. It's the scale of it. And there is not, in my experience, historic precedent for doing that. It looks much more structurally potentially shaky than substantial that way. And hip roofs in Georgian period would have been way over before anybody would have even thought about something in this context here. So that's a false sense of history to be pulling on Georgian, I think.
I think we also would just ask you and your architect to consider the size of the columns as well. This is a bit of a proportion thing, but don't want to second guess your architect's thinking, but they need to be sort of in proportion to the size of the structure, and they first blush they look a little small to me, not structurally, because I think you're going to be dealing with moment frame to brace this in the wind, and regardless of how the columns work. So that's just a comment and question for your architect.
Tim, I think you made the comment that you wanted me to indicate something 14 feet high so you can see if this is truly invisible from the street.
Or what we can see. We don't know what we can see because we don't know. So if you could just put up just two rods that show the two pieces of wood, 14 feet high or whatever it is, to the peak. And I would recommend that they be put at the ends of your pavilion, even though understand it's a hip roof. Then we know we can connect the dots visually and see around your house and see really how much of this is visible, if that sounds okay.
All right.
I think it's hard to vote on something that we don't know what it looks like. We don't even really know how high the one that you're showing us is. Could it be 9 feet? Could it be 8 feet? Could it be 10 feet? You know what I mean? So it's not.
The pergola out there now is 10 feet high.
Exactly 10 feet? Okay. So it'd be 4 feet more. It'd be
So would
great.
somebody like to propose a motion?
Sure.
I could-
I move that we schedule a site visit for 3 weeks from today in the morning for 440 Main Street.
Could you add also the, Walter, if you would,
With
Architect
the
considering
height, with
adding
the height of the proposed new roof line marked so that it can be seen from the various viewpoints through the neighborhood. And we would like also to have the architect consulted about potentially adding a middle support on each of the long ends of the proposed structure.
and considering the size, diameter of those columns, proportions of the column.
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Bill. Louis,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. We will be meeting at the house at is it 7:30? I can't remember the times. When do we
8
start?
o'clock, I believe.
8 o'clock. Okay, a little bit too early. 8 o'clock, 3 weeks from today. And we will take a look and then continue the discussion that evening. And we appreciate Mr. King's time.
So that would be May 7th, just so you have the exact date.
That's our next meeting, right?
It's May 7th.
May 7th. Thanks, Ann. Okay. Next item is 404 Monument Street to install, this is in the North Bridge Monument Square Historic District, to install solar panels. I believe we saw this house fairly recently, maybe a year ago, if I'm correct. Tracy Wynn, who will be representing this project?
Good evening. My name is Byron Johnson from Great Sky Solar. I'll be representing Tracy for 404 Monument.
Thank you, Byron. Please proceed if you would.
Sure. So I'll just share my screen and we can go through it. So here's 404. As I've just heard, I think you guys are a little bit familiar with the property. This is just a street view here. And I'll just go through the plans to give you guys a good idea of where we're proposing the solar panels. Just to be specific, we're proposing 38 415 watt panels. So here's the site plan. As you guys can see, here's Monument Street right here. We have 24 panels all in one rectangle on this area of the roof, and then on the detached garage we're going to do another 14. Some things to keep in mind here. Right on this corner is where the utility meter is. We'll have to add, for the fire department and building department, a exterior disconnect. And I have a photo of that just so you guys have an idea of what that looks like. We are also going to be planning to trench from this corner here to the detached garage in order to get the electricity connected. And I may be going fast or too slow, but feel free to, if you guys want to go back to any of these at the end. So here's just a visual of the panels. The fire department requires certain setbacks. So this is really just representing that. There needs to be a 36-inch pathway from gutter to ridge, as well as a 18-inch setback from the ridge. This is just mounting equipment. I'll try to just go through this a little bit quickly here. But again, if you'd like to go back to it, that's fine. Just here showing that. So something to note as well, this is standing seam on this roof, and this is asphalt shingles on this one right here. So we're going to be doing two types of mounting. This is for asphalt shingle. And then right here, as you can see, this will be the standing seam. So the distance from the roof to the top of the panel, maximum of 6 inches. It's most likely going to be around 5 inches. Here is the panel that we're proposing, all black. Just a little bit of specs here. These are the rails that we'll be using. Upon installation, they'll be trimmed down to the edge of the array so that you shouldn't be able to see any of them. And then this is just a clamp here for the standing seam roof as well. So this is just an aerial view. Again, Monument Street is right here. Just kind of giving you guys a little bit of an idea. And we've got some photos here as well. Oh, no, I have a little bit more. This is just our shade report. Again, just giving you a little bit more idea. It's a bit redundant, but so you can see just a few different angles here as well. This is a Google image. I'll just run through a few from the front of the street. So we will be having panels on this area right here. More of a center view. And then from the other side, these are the three closest images I could get from Google. And this is my image here from a few weeks ago. So kind of sense a little bit of difference between winter and summer.
Byron, did you say there's Yeah, okay. I think you might be answering my question on
Yep.
the panels. Go ahead.
Yep. So we've as per code, we need an exterior disconnect. So we'll be planning to mount that directly next to the existing meter. And as far as conduit going up to the roof that we can see from the street, my master electrician and I actually did a visit a couple of weeks ago, and we really deemed this the best and least conspicuous place to run the pipe going up. We will be going from the basement here. That's
Monument
open.
Street to our back as we look at this.
So Monument Street is this way. So no, it would be to the front of us. This is the back of the house.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, back of the house. Okay.
Yep. And then this is just the proposed trench that we'll be doing as well. So also all in the back. I haven't really mentioned much of the detached garage because from the street, based on these photos here, I really do not expect to be able to see them.
Is the electrical panel, did you add something to that photo to show what it might look like? I couldn't tell.
Let's see which
When
photo
you showed
here?
the electrical, is that, yeah,
Yeah, you
This
did.
one?
go back.
Mhm.
Yeah, is that to the left? Is that your superimposed?
Disconnect.
That's not there now.
Correct.
That's what you're proposing to add, correct?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. That's about it. But obviously, any questions that you guys have, I'm willing to answer.
Is any of it visible from the street?
Yeah. So So this right here, we're going to be having the 24 panel. So it will be visible from the street. Yes. And I'll just bring up. I don't know if this is the best one for you, but yeah, again, Monument Street's right here. So
While we're on the topic of public ways, I assume the Concord River is the blue in the background, or is that a photo?
yeah, you can see it, I believe, right a little bit right here.
So it's probably visible from the Concord River.
It is possible, yeah. I can actually try to pull up. So I have some drone photos. If you just give me 1 second. I'm not sure.
And is the river considered a public way?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to see if we have any.
I'm looking at Google Earth, and the river is not up against that house. It's 2 properties away, or property
That's what
away.
I figured. Okay. All right.
And it's moving away as it goes, whatever.
Yep.
South, east.
Thank you. I don't think it's material. I was just surprised by the blue in the photograph. But
Yeah, this is just our kind of the database that we use to mock up our installs. So
I mean, I've always admired this property and the addition, which I think is very simple and beautiful. And somehow putting solar panels on this low pitch modernist addition, which is very clearly separate from the old house, doesn't bother me in the least. It seems totally, we know it's going to be visible, not highly visible, but these panels are visible. But the fact that the barn is so far back, and that this is a low-pitched, modernist, different structure from the very simple New England house, I think is appropriate. That's my opinion. I'd like to hear whatever everybody else thinks.
I agree, absolutely.
I agree.
I agree too.
Do we have any other commission comments? Do we have any public comments? Okay. let's entertain a motion.
I'll move we approve the submission for solar panels on 404 Monument Street as submitted.
I second.
Thank you, Louis. Bill, for voting, Bill,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. And thank you for your thorough presentation and good luck with the project.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good night. Okay, we're on to 32 Lowell Road, Samantha Rottenberg, Northbridge Monument Square Historic District, to install brackets and construct a one and two story additions to the rear. Who will be presenting tonight?
We have Samantha and Craig Rottenberg. Is it okay if two of us do it together?
Absolutely.
Great.
Don't,
We also have
don't
our-
speak over each other, though.
We'll try not to. We also have Paul Mahoney, our architect, who will walk you through the project in just a few seconds. First, just want to thank you for your time. We're longtime locals. We were 15 years in Carlisle, moved to Concord just last year, and thrilled to have this special house.
Yeah, I mean, the house, as you know, is a really special property. So we're so excited about it. And it's very important to us, although we want to make some modifications to make the house more comfortable for our family. It's really important to us to keep the spirit and character of this terrific property. And I'll, with that, turn it over to Paul Mahoney.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Mahoney from Mahoney Architects. So let me try and share my screen, and I'll try to run through this quickly, and you can stop me whenever you want, and I can go back to anything, but I assume you're familiar with the application. So 32 Lowell Road is here where this icon is. It's right behind the Colonial Inn on Lowell Road. I think it's the second or maybe third house back on the right. And this is what it looks like from Lowell Road on the right side of the house. So just move some things here. So you can see the existing structure. It's had some additions over the years. It's had a garage, I assume, added to this. It looks more contemporary. And the project we're proposing is behind all of these existing structures. And from Lowell Road, I think the parts of it that will be visible will be very minimal. And you'll see this in the drawings, but basically what we're doing is we're extending the back of if you can see my cursor, this part of the house, which is currently the primary bedroom. So we're extending that back 16 feet. So it'll be sort of hidden behind this ornamental tree when that tree is in bloom, and then partially visible in the wintertime. The other parts of the project are behind the garage itself. Those are the additions. There's some very minor one-story pieces that connect these as well. Otherwise, from Lowell Road, the other thing we're doing is we're adding some bracket trim to this gable of the garage. So the existing house and even these extensions that were added have brackets on them. The original house has some very nice bracket detail at the main gable. They sort of continued that when they did this addition. Somewhat smaller in scale, but for whatever reason, they were never added to the garage. So we're going to add those in to the garage gable end. This is the view from the left side of the street. This is a heavily wooded / landscaped edge, most of this on the adjacent property. But you can see this existing structure with the chimney will be extending this back another 16 feet. And there are some existing arborvitaes that are planned to remain. Those will also partially screen that part of the addition. Let's see. So this is the site plan. This will give you an overview of where these additions are. So Lowell Road is at the bottom of the drawing. The existing structure is in the lighter outline, and then the dark outlines are the pieces that we're adding. So this 16 by 16 footprint here is a screen porch on the first floor, and then sort of a reconfiguration of the primary suite on the second floor that'll extend into that. Behind the garage, this 12-foot by 17.5-foot addition has an exercise room on the second floor and a series of sort of utilitarian spaces on the first floor that relate to the backyard. So there's going to be about a third of that will be a storage space, about a third of it will be a bathroom, and about a third of it will be a little sort of kitchenette piece that'll serve the backyard. And then the other pieces in between, you can see one is labeled deck, and that's just what that is. And then this little sliver is a one-story addition that will connect to the existing house back to this addition behind the garage. And I'll jump.
Before we leave this page, just a fact question.
Sure.
In the photo of that driveway and that back step there, it almost looked like that was a breezeway between the house and the garage, but this makes it look like
it's an open porch right here
Yeah.
where these steps are and where that dashed line is. So it's a two-sided open porch, and then it's a one-story structure with a relatively low slope roof, cross gable going this way.
So you can't see through to the backyard from the driveway.
You cannot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So then to jump to the elevations. So these are set up, let me see if I can make this a pinch smaller. And sorry, let's see. Well, we'll just look at them this way. Here we go, sorry. Just want to get both of these on one image. So this is the front elevation to the street. And really the only change, as I mentioned, is to add these series of small brackets to the gable elevation of the garage. This is the rear elevation. So this is the existing at the top. It's a simple gable shape of the garage, and this is the rear of the existing addition at the back of the house. And it has a gable roof that is running crossways to the main gable. So what we're proposing to do with our extension, we'll keep that existing roof, this white area that you can see there. And then our addition that goes out 16 feet will turn 90 degrees from that and sort of continue the shape that you don't see behind that existing cross gable. And same detail as the rest of the house with the brackets and the same trim. And then the lower level will be the screen porch. On the garage addition behind that, basically what we're doing there is sort of nesting this roof under the main garage roof. And this is set in 6 inches. So we didn't want to like just sort of push this back wall out along the right edge. We wanted to just set it inside that existing structure a little bit. So that's why we designed it that way. And again, same gable end details, same brackets. All the materials on all of the additions are going to match the existing house. So it's all wood clapboard, wood trim, all painted the same colors. So it's really meant to look as if this was just another sort of generational, organic expansion of the house. Otherwise, on the back elevation, this little piece is the one-story piece that's being added to basically connect these new spaces behind the garage to the existing house.
Can I ask another fact question before we leave the rear elevation? I assume that
Sure.
none of that is visible from a public way.
Well, I don't think so, but
The
there is
side
this
might be,
parking
but the
lot.
back isn't.
No, the back is not visible. Yeah, the sides are visible, obscured on the right by the rest of the structure that's there, obscured on the left by trees. There's parking, behind the Colonial Inn, so I guess you might see some of that garage addition.
And would say that's not a public way, so
That's
okay.
not public. Yeah.
I couldn't
Okay.
agree more.
Yeah.
So anyways, go ahead.
Paul, do you have just going back to the front
Yeah.
elevation, the Lowell Road elevation, do you have the elevation showing the connector, so that sort of a section elevation
You know,
beyond the,
I'm not sure I do. I know I have other, well, here it is here. So this
that's
is
the
the right
side.
side elevation.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
talking about a front elevation that cuts through behind the main house,
Oh,
so we
here,
can,
like cut through this section, looking back
correct,
towards that.
so we can see what the link looks like.
Um, I don't think I have that. It's what's behind this structure.
Right, right, okay.
Yeah, I don't have that, but we're not changing it. That's all existing to remain.
You're not adding on top of that?
No,
Okay,
no,
so there's no, okay,
no. So if we look like at the back elevation here, you can see this roof area
Yep.
is this roof area.
got it. Okay, I get you. Thank
That
you.
makes sense.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So the right side elevation, this is the existing right side, the existing garage. And this, so that all remains. And then this is the addition behind that, that's set back from the corner. I could check, I think it's about several feet, 4 or 5 feet set back from the corner. And then the other side, the left side, this is the existing elevation. This is white because it is the garage. So that I just wanted to differentiate that. That's set back about probably about
beyond, right.
24 feet or something like that. So what we'll be doing is adding on this structure behind the existing wall with the fireplace.
And where, could you just tell us again where that bracket work exists again? Currently?
So it exists on the existing house. It was part of the original detailing of the original house. When this addition was added, it's added in some places, but not everywhere. So for instance, it
Is
appears
it on that elevation?
it is on
That,
this elevation. It is,
sorry, yeah, okay,
these exist,
yeah.
these brackets. So
How
they,
about, yep, go ahead, sorry.
so they were, picking up on that. They're a little bit smaller than these. They're the same sort of, profile. They just scaled it down.
And when was that put on?
I am not certain of when that addition was done.
Okay.
I would guess quite a while ago because I can't remember this house without it.
I think it was
I'd be
several owners.
guessing, but I would say at least 20 years ago.
Is that the only place that brackets are put on beyond the main house?
Yes.
So not on the other side, whatever it is, the north side or
Yeah,
west?
let me hold on. If you just give me a second, I can check a photo of that because I may have forgotten to show them on that side. Yes, they are on the left side. So basically what they did is I forgot to show them on my elevation here. But these do exist. So basically what they did is when they built this addition, they added the small brackets on the house, but for whatever reason, they didn't add them to the garage.
Do they go up that gable with the chimney?
Looking at photos, let's see, they do not go up the gable on the right side of the house. I don't have a picture that I can see from the left. So, for instance, let me come down here. Right, so this is accurate. They have brackets along the eave, but not along the gable. So I'm imagining you're thinking about the gable on the back and whether they should be there.
Well, so, no, the comment I was gonna make is, that there's often when you're adding to a house like this, the sense is, well, it's better to take the details on the main house and just keep it running. Conversely, we are more in favor of letting additions be more of their time and not trying to drag original details to extensions. I mean, I personally like your massing. It looks appropriate to me, but there's kind of a nice spareness to the existing barn that actually makes the main house more special because it's got this original detail. When you take that original detail and just sort of spread it around the rest of the house, it becomes less special and not sort of, Department of the Interior standards of saying let additions be of their time, so it isn't as highly detailed. I personally don't have a problem with the fact that the barn doesn't have those details, and sometimes it can look awkward to put these details on when the house wasn't really designed for those. It looks very appropriate to the original. It was an added piece to decorate the house, I imagine, late 1800s.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's a comment I want to hear from other commissioners about their opinion as well.
Yeah,
I'll say the note that I wrote this afternoon is that added trim is exactly what should be avoided. So in terms of standards and historic references and accuracy. How committed are you all to?
The bay that's there to the right of the main house, I don't know when that was added. It's a bit, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s, have no idea, but it has nothing on it. And I think appropriately so. If you put brackets on that bay, it would look very odd. The original house, the trim looks, those brackets and that wide fascia board and all that look, to me, look totally appropriate. Just continuing that, I agree with Walter, and I think we would be quite hesitant about that.
How do you feel about the ones to the right of the rear addition, where on this elevation, we're sort of thinking of this as like an extrusion to this piece? And I think.
Did you say that those are there brackets there? Sorry,
those
I forgot.
are there. Yeah, those exist. The ones that my cursor is pointing at.
Those exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, we're not in the business of telling you to take stuff off houses, but.
No, I wasn't suggesting that. I was thinking that when we're adding on to that back piece, I totally understand what you're saying about, what was there originally should be there, and what you do later, you can take cues from it, but you shouldn't try and duplicate it. This one, I think, is a little bit sort of falls in the middle ground, because in some ways, all we're doing is sort of continuing the notion of this addition from whenever it was done. And if you feel strongly that there shouldn't be brackets there, I could appreciate that perspective. The counter to that might be, it might actually look like somebody forgot to install them on that piece.
So
does that make sense?
Yeah, sorry. So, but did you say brackets do exist on that gable where your cursor is?
Correct. Not on the gable, but on the eave.
Okay.
I think it's like a gray area.
I think if you had been, if you don't mind my speaking over everybody, with my apologies, if you had been asking us about that when that was being put up, I think our answer would be that we would be in favor of not putting them up. But since they are there, not looking to tear them off. But I don't think that that's necessarily the lead that should be followed, certainly on the garage, which stands quite independent.
They're at the eave of the roof, but not at the gable. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I got that correct.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not talking about tearing.
No, this is
the gable.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the garage. I'm talking about this part of the house. We're adding this on. These 3 brackets exist. We could easily not do them here. You know, it wouldn't be an
I think
issue.
it would look really odd here to your point. Like
I think
somebody
it would
forgot
too,
'em.
but
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that makes sense. They're proportioned to that size. They're already there, and you're continuing it at both sides of the gable. So that makes sense.
I
Mhm.
agree.
I think we should treat the new addition as separate from the garage. I mean, to add brackets to the garage would be kind of faking it. But to continue to brackets in this new addition would be pure in terms that it's a new addition with brackets. That's part of the new addition, rather than faking the old addition, you know?
right.
That makes sense.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
How about Paul, if we can go to the other side of the house, whatever that left side, I guess is what you're calling it.
Yep, this side.
You're saying the brackets exist where your cursor is?
Um,
Or you're
I
not
think they
sure?
do, but I'm trying to find a photograph to find out for sure. Oops, sorry.
Again,
Bear
these
with
are,
me.
these would
That-
essentially be mimicking, if you
Yeah.
did these, whether they exist or new, they would be mimicking the other side of the roof.
These exist where my cursor is.
Yeah.
On the left side. So we would be matching them.
Same
as we
logic. Yeah.
Continue that. Yep, exactly.
All right, so that makes sense. And, you know, essentially the rear of the house, that's not visible from public, so technically we have no say on the rear of the house.
Yep.
So what we can do is suggest, if you show the rear of the house, you know, suggest considering as you're designing this, because any other commissioner can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't think we have jurisdiction over this facade. But you might want to consider
Mhm.
quieting it down and to strengthen the main house, continue to have the main
Yep.
house be the primary thing. That's a suggestion. That's not a directive, because we don't have the power of directive on this facade.
Yep, I appreciate that. I think we can discuss that with Craig and Samantha. Yeah,
Other commissioner comments?
Yeah, it just would make the original part of the house stronger for it not
Yeah.
to be there.
Mhm.
But again, no weight behind that opinion, and that's an opinion.
I'd echo Tim on I think the massing of these additions is quite attractive, and the views from Lowell Road, I think it'll look terrific.
Any other commissioner comments before we open it to the public?
I have one question about the arborvitae, which is masking. Is that
Mhm.
on this property or is it on the neighbor's property?
It's on this property.
Okay, so I would like to make sure that that is maintained.
Mhm. Yep, that's the intention.
Okay,
And
well, I
I think,
understand.
I think it's possible because the porch is actually going to be built on piers.
Mhm.
So we don't have to excavate for a full foundation back there.
Okay. I would like that to be part of the proposal that continues to be masked.
I think that was presented that way, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was mentioned that those would stay.
Yep.
And open it up to the public. Do we have any public comments? I can only see so many people, so if somebody's raised their hand, I can't see it. Please speak up if I'm missing anybody on public comments. I don't hear any public comments, so could I have a motion?
Tim, can I add just one thing before you do that?
Yes, please.
I sent a email today. We made a change to the roof that we're proposing to a different color that we think is a much closer match to what's there. So I just wanted to note that it's Williamsburg slate. You have it in the package that's online. It was added today. I can pull it up if you want.
Yeah, if you would, thanks.
Sure.
It's an asphalt shingle roof, right?
It's the same product, it's just a different color. It's coming up.
If it's real slate, we approve it.
So that's the slate. It actually has some little sort of reddish tone to it, but that's actually what's on the roof right now.
That's what's there now?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's this product, this Timberline product, but the color is almost identical. Originally, I didn't choose this one because I just didn't think it was this. And then I went back and
Any
looked at it again, and it's
comments?
actually very much like this.
Any comments from the commission on that?
No.
And the one other thing I wanted to note is that we are also going to the ZBA on May 8th. We have an application in front of them for a lot line special permit to the addition that I was describing is going to be in the setback, but no further in the setback than the existing house. So just so you're aware, we still have to get their approval on that. And also for a minor FAR addition.
Is that a variance you're going for?
No, special permit.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, that's all I wanted to add.
thank you. Could I have a motion? Maybe I'll step back. We talked a lot about the brackets, but I think essentially what we're saying is we agree with the approach on the left and right sides, and the back are out of our jurisdiction. So essentially we would be proving the project as submitted.
So would that include the brackets on the garage?
Without the brackets on the garage.
Correct, thank you.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I move that we approve 32 Lowell Road with the following additional points in no particular order: that the arborvitae screen remains, the brackets not be added to the garage.
We have that right. I'm just checking with other commissioners. Everybody good with that?
I second.
Yes.
Second. Okay, Catherine,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Lewis,
All right.
and I am an I as well. Thank you for a thorough presentation.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with the project.
Thank
Very
you
helpful
very much.
package. That made it easy.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
Yep, bye-bye.
Okay, next project is 548 Lexington Road, American Mile Historic District, to construct a post and beam barn. Mr. Jeffrey Dietz, and I believe this barn is set quite a ways back from the house. Mr. Dietz, are you presenting tonight?
I am, yeah, the homeowner and the de facto project manager. So I'll try and share what I have here. Okay. Just want to confirm you're seeing a elevation scan of the barn first.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's a little preview. So we are requesting approval to build a new detached barn on our property at 548 Lexington Road. This is a front view of the property. The intended purpose of the barn is to provide storage for a small tractor and other yard implements and sport equipment and so forth. The barn is a 1.5 story barn with a relatively small footprint for a barn of 22 by 30. The barn is a traditional post and beam timber frame barn. It is designed by the post and beam barns by Country Carpenters. They're out in Hebron, Connecticut. They specialize in New England style colonial era kit barns. The intended barn location is set quite a ways back from our property. As you can see, our home is very close to Lexington Road. We're within 20, 30 feet of the road. The proposed barn location is set back about 184 feet from the home. Our property slopes gradually but aggressively from Lexington Road towards Millbrook, set quite a ways back. It's almost 550 feet back on the property. The barn location there in red, it's about 12 feet below the grade of Lexington Road. The height of the barn is 22 and a half feet grade above the, it's 22 feet above the grade. It's got a small cupola that will be 27 feet above grade where it's located. With the setback of the barn on the lower grade, the ridge in the cupola will be 13 feet and 8 feet below the main home ridge. It puts it about 8 feet above the grade of Lexington Road. The preferred location of the barn is sort of a compromise between the 100-foot wetland setback on our property, as we have that to consider. And this is the front elevation and left elevation, which would be the only viewable sides of the barn from the public way, being Lexington Road. I have a wireframe. I did the best I could with a wireframe projection of what could be viewed from what is the eastern side of our home, looking down towards the rear of our property. And then,
Excuse me, Jeff, could you go back back to the drawing again? So the front elevation faces, what's called the front elevation here faces Lexington Road, correct?
the front elevation is relatively directly in line with Lexington Road. The left elevation would be seen at an angle from, that would be the only other side that would be viewed for reference.
And how long is that dormer on the south side?
The dormer on the south side is only about
Oh, I see.
It's only about 8 feet wide. It's set back quite a bit, so I actually don't believe that is from the corner.
So rear elevation is facing the stream.
Millbrook.
Correct, Millbrook. Yeah,
Millbrook, yeah.
South facing. Yep.
Okay, thank you. And is the cupola functional at all? Is it a venting cupola or is it just purely decorative?
It is designed as a venting cupola. It can be closed off if we deem so, but as of right now, it is an actual functioning cupola with louvered windows if you choose to it. I can add some details to the actual barn here as well. The barn siding is vertical eastern white pine boards that will be painted to match the existing color on the home. The doors are all handcrafted board and batten style with hand forged pintle hinges, traditional oak latches, and the roof will be shingled with asphalt shingles to match the same style and color of the existing dwelling, which is a timberline, pewter gray style. And then the top is that single wood winnowed cupola.
I see a light in the bottom. Are there lights on this barn?
The intended light actually is not on the front of, I have that is actually going to be intended on the rear of the let me see here, the rear of the barn on the either side of this door here.
Okay.
These lights are actually existing lights that are on our garage that were approved, I don't know, 6 years ago by the HDC.
And you're proposing to paint the barn to match the house, correct?
Yes.
And is this rough sawn?
It is.
Eastern white pine?
Yes.
Any other comments, Jeff, before we open it up to Commissioner?
Nope, that's what I got.
Comments?
I have a couple. One, is there a particular reason for the vertical siding rather than horizontal siding?
That is what that particular company and project, that's what they provide and build. I've seen it on some other regions and areas where it's fairly prevalent. There's right across the street from us is also a vertical.
Is it shiplap or tongue and groove, or do you know?
It's shiplap. Yeah.
My, I guess my question is painting it to match the house. I have two questions. One is the cupola, and one is painting it house color versus considering letting the pine weather or painting it gray to differentiate, as pretty much all New England barns do, differentiating it from the house, especially with something that's set so far back and letting it just kind of weather into the landscape. And I'm just wondering if, and then the secondly is the cupola, you know, barns, I mean, there are plenty of barns that have cupolas. This is a kind of a small cupola, not quite in proportion with the size barn. I understand they're good for ventilation, but you know, the best barns are simple forms. I appreciate the fact that the dormer's on the south side and you can't see it. But those would be my two questions.
It's been an internal conversation as well about what to paint the barn or not paint it. We actually do enjoy the look of an unpainted barn. And to be honest, you know, as far as, you know, blending into the community and dealing with the HGC and we respect it, you know, I made the assumption that painting it with the existing, to match the existing home would probably be the path of least resistance. I personally do enjoy the look of the unpainted and weathered look. They've had several products that have weathered extremely well and look quite attractive. So I'm open to, you know, we're open to the suggestion on that.
I would second the weathered look, have it to be differentiated from the house.
No, I mean, that's
Right.
great. Yeah, it's actually my personal preference. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it.
Right, and a third, and prefer no cupola, I guess. That's been how we have tended to look at new structures recently from an historical perspective.
Okay. Yeah, I was, there's several similar sized barns, just about 4 or 5 houses down, 462 and 478 Lexington Road, which are barn garages that have that style cupola on top. So we were more trying to blend in with the precedent that has been set along the street with close proximity.
Would you be willing to delete the cupola?
I don't think we would prefer to, you know, if that really does become a sticking point, you know, if it's a have or have not, sure. I would question as to why, you know, some of our neighbors have that, but we would not, you know.
This is Bill. I think it's a terrific product. I happen to have one of these barns, and it weathers beautifully and looks blends in quite well. The cupola, I think, relative to Concord standards on smaller barns, you tend not to see cupolas. They show up on much larger barns. I think my view is if you keep the cupola, it needs to be a different shape to match historic precedent, I guess. Otherwise, I think it's terrific. I'd also recommend not painting it.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to not paint it. Yeah, we were so not set on it, but I'm just sort of surprised given the fact that so many of our neighbors have it. Very similar size barns just down the street with that exact style.
Any pictures of those other barns?
If you give me a minute to drive down Google Maps here, happy to do that. It will only take another 3 clicks or so.
That'd be great.
Oops, sorry. I think we're here. Well, there's one. Oops, sorry. I don't know if I can see it from further down the street, but
We're not seeing what you're seeing.
okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We're seeing your house still.
Trying to give you some perspective here. 1 second with the screen sharing. Sorry, I'm having a technological impediment here with the sharing of which window I have open. I don't know why it's not letting me share this particular one. I don't know if Kim, you're able to do it. It's 462 and 478 Lexington Road. It's only about 6 houses down from our house. There's 2 separate.
Try stop sharing and then sharing again.
Oh, that's. Check this out. It's not giving me an option to share the other window for some reason.
I can try. Let's see. So can you see my screen? I don't.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that is the one I'm referring to. It's not actually the Hawthorne Inn property. It is the one next to it. I don't know if you're able to zoom in on that or not, but it's there's several of them that were, and there's another one that's just next door to it as well.
But that does not look historic, that one, right?
Oh.
So they want the barn to all list.
Have I gone past it?
No, it's I think it just the stepping size of that we have available with Google Maps is not gonna let it there. Anyways, if it becomes a sticking point, we are willing to remove the cupola.
Absolutely.
You know,
I
yeah,
think
that you can
generally, we know that there's projects out there that at some point or other were approved, but the small additive decorative cupola, as Bill said, on a small barn, you know, Concord small barns tended not to have cupolas. It's the big ones that had quite substantial and elegant cupolas, you know, that
Okay.
are almost
We- no,
houses in their own right. So I think if you'd be willing to work with us on the cupola and not painting it, I think we'd
Great.
that's where we'd like to head.
Yeah, that's no problem. We were actually hoping to not paint it, so that's easy to hear. And yeah, with the cupola, it was, you know, I thought a precedent was set, so I thought we were trying to blend in with it, but
Yeah.
we'll yield to that.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? Walter, did you have a comment?
Yeah, in looking at the site plan, where you're situated, you're taking down an oak tree to put this up?
Yeah, that's the compromise between the you know, the buffer zone with the National Resources Commission on where we are. We have to take down an oak tree and then a Norwegian maple that is there, which we've learned is actually invasive, and they've asked us to remove.
Has anyone expressed concern about the oak and whether there's a slightly more to the side?
No,
protection for the barn?
we've talked to all of our neighbors, and they've all they haven't expressed any concerns or issues. We do have several other large oaks on the property that are being preserved
Mhm.
as well.
Public comments? I don't see any hand raised. Could we have a motion, please?
I seem to be doing the motions tonight. So
Yes,
I'll move,
tonight is your night, Bill.
That's right. I move we approve 548 Lexington Road barn with 2 changes to the submission. The first is the removal of the cupola. The second is that it is to be left weathered or other transparent finish.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Louis. Catherine,
Aye.
Walter,
With a small bit of sadness for the fate of the oak tree, aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Louis?
Aye.
I am an aye as well, and the motion is passed. Thank you very much, Jeff. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Looks good.
Next is 46 Wood Street, project we know quite well. Mark Christopher representing Battle Architects. It's the Main Street Historic District for various landscape moves and some lighting and security cameras and HVA screening, a variety of items. Robert, are you presenting tonight?
Yes, Peter's batting leadoff before I dive into the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members. I'll be very quick. As you aptly described it, Mr. Chairman, this is sort of phase 3 and the final phase in the comprehensive renovation of this home. The first phase, you may recall, was the new garage, which you'll see in Bob's presentation now that it's complete. That was followed by elements of the renovation of the main house that you all took the time to look at on site before approving last fall. And that included gutters and stairs and some exterior lighting and railings. And we had at that time anticipated and notified you that there would be a subsequent phase, and that's largely hardscape and sort of final design details. And so that's what Bob will walk through with you. We'll try to be brief, but responsive to your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone can see my screen, correct? I just want to double check.
Yes.
I have 3 screens on my computer here. So this presentation is breaking down into 9 pieces. A lot of these are smaller chunks, so we'll dive right into it. Part 1, part 2, and part 3 is enhancements to the bottom of these 3 staircases on the front side of the property. If you remember from the previous phase, we had a new staircase, new newel posts. They were painted. Nothing's changes in terms of the staircases to landings. These things are going on as you're going from the staircase onto a landing. So these are kind of like new landings. So as you're working from right to left, this is the screen porch. We're adding a new landing here. We're adding a new landing right here at the front door, and a new landing here at the mudroom door. I kind of blew those up a little bit, kind of a little general site plan and kind of blow ups to the side to help explain this. The design intent is to have the same type of fieldstone pattern that we have in the back of the property for the screen porch in the mudroom, and to make the front door feel a little different and feel more formal. We're adding a little bit of a granite layout at the bottom of the stairs here to feel different than the other 2 sides. So the 2 sides are kind of like the saddlebags. The front's is the more formal entrance. Those are the first.
Both at grade?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for the question. That's a good question. Those are the first 3 parts of the submittal. The 4th part is in the garage area. As Peter was mentioning, this was phase 1, which is exterior is done. We like to add an apron, cobblestone apron in front of it, kind of instead of just a simple, grade up the asphalt. We'd rather have it's a little more detailed to it with a little bit of cobblestones, which as you've seen on site, there's some cobblestones incorporated on the site. So we're kind of relating to that a little bit. As part of this piece, and I'll show you in the model in a minute, we have a people door on the side of the garage here. The door opens out. I have a little bit of a model view to help explain. I sent this up as supplementary information a couple of days, yesterday, to Ann to circulate to you guys. And the recommendation is do a little bit of a model so you can understand the design intent. There's a people door here, and because of the size of the garage, the site constraints, the door doesn't open in, it opens out. But it's pretty tight right here. So the design intent and the idea is you have 2 ways. You come up if you park your car inside, you have 2 ways to get in. You can poke down, there's a set of steps that goes underneath this patio here. There is a basement mudroom here where you can just come, if there's like bad elements, such as we had a pretty good winter this year. Come out the garage, come underneath, go right in the mudroom, and there's a staircase that leads up to the kitchen area. Or you can turn around, come out this way, and come up the little small mudroom we have in the front here. It's a little bit of a squeeze, but we're adding this little bit of a staircase to kind of give the people the both options from the elements, and also kind of to clean this up area up a little bit as well. The design intent is to kind of match the existing details of the porch on site that you've seen on site, but the finish is a little different because we have these HVC pens, which you saw in the previous submittal as Western Red Cedar. We're kind of changing the finish to kind of, because these guys are more closer to each other than the upper deck here. I'm going to show you these views a little, and if I make you sick, I apologize, but little views kind of as you see it. And so these vignettes, I kind of put in the narrative I sent to you guys yesterday. That's kind of from the street-ish a little bit. So that's this piece. Next, I'm going to switch back to the site plan. The next phase is a new driveway. What it currently exists.
I'm sorry, just before you go by, I think maybe
sure.
the only one, it's not clear to me what of that stairway is new versus.
Oh, I'm sorry. So this column stays. This column stays. This is all new. This stair is all new. There's an existing couple of steps here that's kind of seen a better day. I'll show you the existing photo in a minute.
Okay, thanks.
But this is the kind of the new staircase here. I'm sorry,
The landing is there now, but
no, nothing's there now.
Nothing's there. Okay.
Yeah, it's right now it's just dirt.
Yeah.
And then this was going to be eventually the third phase. How do we make this? How do we tie everything and button everything up around the main house? Let me show that photo real quick. If you give me 1 sec. See, there's a couple steps right here. That's where that new stair is coming in. It's kind of like right here. So we're kind of filling this in and kind of making the stair here close, hugging this tall column here. Getting back to the part 5 is the new driveway. What exists currently today is, I mean, this is photos taken this morning. Is the driveway was originally gravel. The design intent is to add a new driveway as a more cleaner driveway back as asphalt with cobblestone edging. The cobblestones you see at both ends of the driveway are going to remain. So we're kind of creating this arch back into more formal as with asphalt with cobblestone edging. During the life of this house and as the house was being used, back here became a parking spot by default. Visitors come, they just pull over there. And over the time before the construction for the garage and the main house happened, there was gravel, there was mulch, there was weeds, there's junk and mud and stuff like that. So it all got beat up because people were making it a parking spot. So we're kind of making it more of a formal parking spot here. We're also kind of continuing the granite edging so you can feel the curve. And then obviously the asphalt kind of proceeds down to the garage. That's where it stops.
Robert, so that granite edging is flush to the drive?
Correct, because you had to plow it.
And flush to lawn?
Within an inch or so. If you see,
Okay.
you ever see those, you put asphalt down, it's a little bit bump up. It's got the transition between that bump and the grass. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, no worries. Part 6 is sconce lights. So there's 5 locations on the main house and 1 on the garage. We found a fixture from Patty Brothers, which we used in the front of this house. The company out of Sudbury, we used it on another project you saw a couple of years ago. Those locations, it's using the existing locations was replacing the fixtures, which have seen a better day. So those locations, 1 next to the screen porch here, 2 on the upper deck, and then 1 on either just 2 doors underneath this patio or at the back of the house, 1 by each door. There is also a little bit of this, as I mentioned, there was a garage sconce light here, which kind of splashes light for this new staircase we're proposing. Phase 7.
Sorry, Robert, just.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You said 5 new lights
in existing locations.
In existing locations, okay.
Yeah, I can show you them all real quick. See that's 1, 2. There's a door here. There's a door here. And there's 1 right there. Those are the 5 locations. Okay, that's on the main house.
So is that 2 sconces next to each other there, one on the porch and
That's just like, we just took our
Those.
CAD, yeah, we took the CAD files. We did this kind of quickly, just kind of
Okay.
cut and paste. I don't know if you know the good old days where we made foam cone models and
It's fine. So
put
it's a
it-
ghost and not really there.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I just back up? The 5 are existing locations, but the 6th by the new garage door is a new lamp.
That's correct.
Got
It's oops, sorry, I'm in the building.
You're not changing previous front of house lights we've talked about, correct?
Nope, that's those are in place. Those were approved. Those are in place. Those are done.
Okay.
And the other locations here, it's kind of facing the stair. Phase 7. I'm gonna switch back from the site plan to you see this little dash line here. So what exists today is just this piece here. What we want to do is kind of infill it and make it one big patio space here. I'll go to the back. It kind of curves back. I'll show you the photo in a minute, but the existing kind of curves back. It pitches out obviously away from the house. The water doesn't go into the house. We're trying to kind of fill this in here with same stone, but kind of making this a little more cleaned up, not muddy. To be quite honest, this also helps make it a little bit of a private spot for someone here. If you're up here kind of eating, the house over here has like a taller deck where you can kind of see onto the deck. So this also does two things. It kind of cleans things up a little bit, kind of extends things, but also makes a little private spot if you want to eat privately or just be, out of.
Is that is that a step from the stone down to grass, or is that a computer glitch?
Computer glitch. Let me show you the model. Excuse me. Show you the photo real quick. It's a good photo. Sorry, Tim. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up a better photo for you guys.
I mean, the intent is to have that transition into
Yeah.
lawn and flush, right?
Yeah. It's pretty close to being flush, like 3 inches down, according to
Yeah, okay. That's all I need to know. And
Okay.
is the stone that's showing up in the existing photographs, is that the pattern and style of stone you're talking
Yeah.
about?
That's correct. I call it fieldstone. It closest fieldstone. It's matching what's out there on site.
Fieldstone or flagstone?
Flagstone. Excuse me.
Can you bring up just that photo? It shows quite the extent of it. Somewhere you had a photo, just so we can see
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm digging for. Hold on 1 second. I apologize for holding you guys up.
It's all right.
Pressure. I'm sorry, guys. Hey, there we go. This is gonna explain it. Come on, computer. This is like last week. See this? See how it kind of curves here? I'm bringing it. We want to bring it straight over to meet the garage. If you can see the pattern, that's kind of what we want to mimic on the two side entries in the front and back here.
Yep.
It's kind of just
Okay.
filling it in. And you see how it's a little bit of a lip.
Yep.
It's like 3 inches, 4 inches, 5. It's kind of just taking that elevation. I think it's I forget it's in the documentation, the contour line. Just kind of continuing it out. Obviously, it kind of pitches out from these doors here because you don't want water running into your house. So that's the rear patio. The next phase, next part, is adding an HVAC unit to warm the garage. The pen is similar in spirit to the other HVAC pins you have approved on the previous submittal. It's kind of around the corner so the neighbor doesn't see it. From the model, it's right there. So if you kind of from the street, I mean, obviously you'll see it from the water, which is kind of under your jurisdiction, but from the front you don't really see it. But it's kind of just adding an HVAC unit for the garage and having a pen around it, similar to the details we showed you before. Last on the list, it was spoken about at the last submittal. We mentioned we're going to add to this submittal is the security cameras. This is in conjunction with Lexington Alarm, which everyone uses. I kind of highlighted this in red. I kind of showed photos where they were in the submittal we sent to you. Working from right to left, there's a security camera here tucked under an eave. Security camera here tucked under an eave. One at the entry, one by the entry to the mudroom, one at the back of the entry. And I'm going through these quick, but I can go dive deeper into this if you'd like. One here kind of at the back. one by each, one kind of near the doors underneath the patio. So there's a handful of cameras that from Lexington Alarm. We have I have blow up photos that show you if you want to dig more into this. But that's where we stand for these 9 phases. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have, and I can spin around the model as needed.
Could you show, Robert, could you show an image of the cameras?
Absolutely. It was towards the back end of this long narrative. And I apologize again, making you sick. That's the one by the front door.
Can you zoom in a little bit or something?
Yeah. Now these are photos taken from, like close right by the front door. I have some photos taken from the street. So
Yeah. Okay.
if you don't understand what I'm saying, it's
And just to be clear, these have already been installed before you're asking for retroactive approval?
correct. And only one's not installed. It's at the back of the back of the wire is there.
How many of them were installed the last time we were there?
I have to defer the Dirk and
I remember
Nick.
it being a bit of a contentious point, so I'm
Yeah, no,
surprised.
totally appreciate the question.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I do remember the question being raised. I think it was clarified that these cameras were installed in part to ensure security during construction. So if there are any concerns, we're happy to address them.
But so once construction is completed, will the cameras come out?
No, these are intended to be permanent at this point. They've been adjusted and the locations have been identified. But if the HDC sees fit, we did include all of the details here with photos of each. And they're intended to provide comprehensive security while also being discreetly located.
Was it for construction or for permanence? Sure.
Well, I guess the question was raised as to.
It had been explained to us that they were there for construction, so I'm surprised that they're.
No, there's no hiding the ball here. They were implemented
correct.
to ensure construction, and there were legitimate security issues that needed to be addressed. But we do feel that they're appropriate to remain. A number of the locations have been adjusted. And so we're seeking approval. And that's all.
But they're already installed.
That's right.
So.
Is Wood Street?
If there are any concerns, if you have any concerns, we're happy to address them.
Well, I will say, I don't want to get too out of line here, but I am concerned about the process as much as anything.
Well, it sounds like, Peter, if I'm, the simple message is you're saying, yes, they were installed during construction and now you've considered them and said, we'd like to have them as permanent with it. And you made some adjustments, correct?
That's right.
So you've changed, you're just presenting it differently per the client's request.
Well,
I have no problem with it. I think it's fine by me.
Yeah, we want to address any concerns that the HDC has.
Well, I think Walter's point is that if we approve things for construction, is that a separate approval process from approving things for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and they were already installed when we were asked to approve them before. There's a history with the property of asking for forgiveness, not permission. That's all I'm saying. So I'm surprised.
We're very pleased with the investment that has been made in the restoration of the home, and we're happy to address any concerns. There is no intention to do anything other than provide for safety and security.
Tim, I have just 2 comments.
Yes.
The package is much more complete than the last several, so I appreciate that. First, the security cameras are completely ahistoric, and cumulatively, it's a lot of
smoked glass globes glaring out to the street, and I don't like any of them. I might compromise and say having a couple would be okay, but they're just out of place. The second comment is the light fixture, the new light fixture at the garage. Just wondering, trying to minimize the amount of light that gets projected out to the street. If you think about the guidelines, it's minimizing light that's visible from the street. If there's a way to put it not on the wall of the garage, but on inside that stairwell, where it would still light the landing and the stairs, but not be visible from the street. That would be, in my mind, a preferred location.
We have to kind of make sure we splash the landing.
Yeah,
I appreciate the question. That's why we kind of turned it on the side here. And you mean someone like,
yeah,
I understand what you're saying. Kind of like, I got
it's
you.
not the most elegant solution, but
Yeah, I
and the
understand.
amount of light, the cumulative number of light fixtures is high that are projecting light onto the street, and I'm just trying to minimize that.
Totally gotcha.
Bob,
This-
could you
This is I'm sorry, Peter, go ahead.
could you put some sort of baffle on the street side?
Could do that. Yep.
Or at least a
Idea.
motion detector.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, both those good ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to make sure there's light here. You know, if you're coming back home
Oh,
late
sure. Yeah, no, I
in the
got it.
winter months with the
If I-
groceries.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And here is the homeowner. Let me, the history of the sconce is that I had originally had no notion of putting a sconce there, no intention to put a sconce there. And it turned out that when you have a landing and a staircase, code requires you to put one there. So the origin of this sconce and its location are code. We would certainly limit the wattage if it is installed to a maximum of 25 watts. I think that's very adequate to light the landing. So we would seek to minimize any light that's getting out.
Yep.
The sconce we picked is of a very traditional style, which resembles, I believe, according to an old photograph, the literal carriage lights on the carriage of the owner of the property in 1905. And it is a small and discreet sconce. We worked hard to find one that would be as invisible and as period correct as possible. So I think that while in the abstract, I'm very favorable to the view that we should work hard to limit the number of lights here. This one has been minimized in advance, and we would be happy to promise to limit the wattage on it as well.
I think maybe adding a motion detector, as Walter suggests, is a good idea.
That can be done.
Okay.
Like a PK lighting and kind of color to match the eave, so it kind of fades away into its background, which we do all the time. Even
Okay,
even on non-historic projects, we do the same. You know, you kind of want them to kind of go away because they're not the prettiest.
Robert, could you go back to the security camera plan again on the
Absolutely.
street level?
Yep. Give me 1 sec. Sorry. I can share the photos too if you need to. I can point them on the. I can.
No,
put 'em on
just
the-
so there's
There's one.
just starting from the right. There's one above the AC unit.
Mhm.
Then you have one to the left of the entrance, and then one tucked up in the entrance. It looks like
Correct.
potentially invisible, I guess, from the street.
Hold on 1 sec.
I can speak to that. I actually laid down on the street with a camera to try to photograph that security camera by the central front door, and you cannot see it from the street at all. So I actually want to move it up about 7 to 10 inches to get it away from the sconce, just from the point of view of visual appeal. So if we do that, it will be even more invisible if there is such a thing, but it is not actually visible from the street.
Okay, thank you. So if you go back to the plan, Robert, so there's,
Sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
yeah, that's okay. There's two on the right side of the house that are tucked under eaves
That's correct.
that are visible. There's one under the entry.
Yep. It's like right there. See, this is taken from this morning, so it's like right there, and like right there,
Right.
and then Can I just show you the other photo? Maybe it's a little easier too.
Just, if you could just go back to the plan, I'm gonna lose my place here, if you could just.
Sorry about that, Tim. I
And
didn't
then
mean
there's
to confuse you.
one under the, is that under a roof right there?
That's correct. Can you give me 1 sec?
Is that something that can also be moved up and into the ceiling, so it's, I guess it already is.
We could move it a little more. And we could also paint the white housing to match the shingle behind it, which would tend
That
to
would
make
help.
it
That would help as
visually.
well. And then there's one behind that shed, which I mean, I suppose could be seen from the river, but it's pretty de minimis in my mind, but
It's like
I guess my point is that it seems like there's two looking from the street that have some visibility. It's the right-hand two, assuming the other two are under porches and could be moved up as high as possible. And are there any other?
the ones that are in the back patio are under the patio by the doors, if that makes sense.
Right.
You won't really see that if you're at the river. It's really just someone if coming sneaks underneath or something and kind of sneaks into the patio, trying to break in. That's all.
Yeah, when I spoke about that's the ones from the front that I think hurt the historic visibility. The back has a quite practical. I understand from you're more likely to have an intruder in the back than on a busy street.
It's also a unique house where there's a lot of entrances into the house. Like not like 2 or 3 or 4. It's several, which also affects. But please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over somebody.
No. Bill, if I may address what you said, I'm very unenthusiastic about visible security cameras. And if we keep any of these, I want them to be as invisible as possible. And from spending a lot of time in front of the house, I know from experience that these 2 cameras that face the street on the right that you've just flagged, one of them is actually not consciously perceived. I didn't know it was there for months until I noticed it by accident. And that is the one to the right of the porch. I think the reason is because it's inlaid into the eave above it and it's slightly masked by the overhang of the roof. And also the white housing blends in with the wood behind it.
Yep.
So that one in practice, I believe, is not a problem. The one on the right is a little bit more of a problem because from some angles it is visible against sky behind it. My personal feeling is that the one to the right of the porch, if you were to, is probably not an issue. The one on the right is potentially a little bit more visible. It is relatively expensive to move any of these, but it can certainly be envisaged. And it would be possible in the case of the one on the right to find to put it up under the eave so that it is partially masked by the overhang and blends in.
When you say one on the right, do you mean right of the main entry or the porch?
The one to the right of the screen porch.
Okay.
The one to the right of the entry is already about it is literally as discreet as it could be. And I believe that it's not something that one notices as a practical matter. The one to the right has an angle bracket and it's from some angles, it's potentially a little more visible. And so I would suggest that one potential approach would be to leave the one to the right of the porch alone and to concentrate on moving the one on the right.
How about taking the one on the right off?
The problem is that we lose security coverage of an entire wing of the property and there's no other way to get it back. So from a security point of view, that's the only way to cover the stairs, the screen porch, and this side of the driveway. So we can make it less conspicuous. We can obviously, it will not give, if we move it up a little bit, so it's concealed by the roof overhang. Bob, maybe you could get us a detailed photo on that fixture. It will be very inconspicuous and it will give us less good visual coverage from a security point of view, but it's still giving us the minimum. That's the one that's not conspicuous in my opinion. But Bob, if you go to the one on the right.
That one.
Yeah, that one. And maybe
you zoom in a bit, Bob?
Sure.
What about one inside of the screen porch? Would that do the trick?
The ceiling.
I consulted with the contractor and he says that it's not going to pick up anything. And for one thing, the camera gets confused by the screens. So that we did explore that possibility. We also explored the possibility of moving it so that it's inlaid asymmetrically over that screen on the right, to the right of the staircase, just under the eaves, which would actually make it disappear visually pretty well too. But I think the least conspicuous solution is to move it from its construction era position on that angle bracket so that it is under the eaves and is not visible against the sky behind it from any angle at all. At that point, I think it's fairly close to visually imperceptible. This is a very elaborate facade with a lot going on. And from, some 40 feet away, very small details tend not to call attention to themselves. I think we can make it just about disappear by moving it up. A little bit expensive, but I think it's probably worth it.
You're talking about moving it up, meaning literally vertically moving it up.
Dirk, the contractor Dirk is here. Dirk, you might have to remind me of exactly where we put it, but I think we can put it flush mount on the roof above it so that we get rid of the angle bracket altogether and the round base of the unit is directly sitting on the white board over it, and it is partially masked by the overhang of the roof itself, so that that's basically it.
Or are there other cameras that might be flusher with the roof?
If we go around to the back of the house, because I want this house to look as correct as possible, and I'm definitely willing to shoulder a little more expense and effort. This one here it's not actually, as a practical matter, I mean, it's technically visible from the river, but there's so much vegetation, and because of wetlands, nobody can ever cut that. But we could also move this one back so that it is up and partially masked by that board that it's sitting on, and is set back 1 foot from where it is. That would make it much less conspicuous. Again, I don't think it's significantly visible, but is definitely technically within HDC's jurisdiction, because as I've been told, this house has no back. And so that one could be moved to make it less conspicuous as well.
It sounds like everybody agrees we don't think houses should have visible security cameras.
I'll repeat myself. It's completely ahistorical. And the cumulative effect of having so many cameras that are visible from the street, they're not conspicuous, but they're visible, is just not appropriate. I would like to see one or more removed from the front and the others adjusted as you described.
The house on Wood Street had 9 cameras that were visible, or 2 cameras. So you wouldn't want that either.
I think the camera that can be most easily eliminated is the one to the right of the porch, and that also has no possible solution in terms of making it less conspicuous, because it's already as inconspicuous as the location makes possible. So that would, I'm sorry, not that one, the one to its left.
Yep.
If you could,
the
one to the right of that one. Yes.
Sorry, guys.
I think removing that one and adjusting the far right screen porch one would mitigate my concerns a bit. Or sufficiently, I guess.
I'm definitely willing to remove this camera and to adjust the other one.
On the rear.
The one on the right of the screen porch, and if desired, the one on the rear as well.
This one, okay. Yeah. Let's start from the start. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna write this down. This one's removed. The way current thinking is this could be removed.
The 2 porch lights on the front. We're talking about raising those as high as possible under the eaves.
This guy?
No, go to location 1. Go to location one.
Hey guys.
Go to location. That one goes up to the top.
Gotcha.
Not all the way to the top, but much of the way there, 7 to 10 inches, I think, at maybe a foot.
So location 1, that could move, potentially move up. The location 2, that could be removed.
Yes.
This one could be moved up. Location 4, which is the left side of the house, the mudroom, that could be moved up.
And painted to match the trim.
Yep. Excuse me 1 second, guys. I'm just writing this down. This is can be as painted to match the trim and be high, mounted as high as we can.
And that gets moved under the under the beadboard.
And then the last one is kind of by the door, which is kind of, I'm going to show you on the model. It's probably a little easier. It's right there.
It's not visible from.
Yeah.
I'd say the same thing, paint it the same as the trim as you're doing on the front.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
This all begs the question of, if you did not have security cameras, what's the next level of security that's available to you? I don't have outdoor security cameras on my house, and frankly, I don't think I miss them.
If you're looking for an answer, I just think that this is starting to get beyond the purview of the HTC. Certainly, it's appropriate for you to be looking at each of these as design elements and their impact from the public ways. But whether it's for insurance purposes, for security purposes, these are independent judgments that I don't think the HTC.
I'm looking purely at the visual effect on an historic property.
I can appreciate that, but security is a different aspect altogether.
So, which is why I asked you what the next, is there an alternative to security to having what are visually ahistoric elements added to the outside of the house? That's what I'm asking.
Okay. Well, I think
I'm coming at it entirely in terms of historic aesthetic, not questioning security.
Okay. Well, I don't have an answer, but I do think that that's a question that would be better posed to the town more broadly.
Trying to think.
That's frankly not my concern.
2.5 years I've been on the commission, we've not been faced with this that I can remember. So I totally appreciate the commission's concerns. It's along the same line as outdoor lighting and lots of other things that are happening that we're constantly pushing back against. And I think, with all due respect to the client's needs and concerns, I guess looking forward, I think that, I was checking just through commission table of contents and I don't see any reference.
I made a note of that, Tim.
We have no guidelines on security cameras. And we need to have guidelines on security cameras because we're not saying they're not allowed. They certainly are not historic. And once you get to a certain number, you kind of notice that they're on a house and there they are, as Bill said. So I feel like the client is working with us to try to conceal these.
I'm comfortable with
we need guidelines put in to control this in the future. So
I'm comfortable with what we've converged on here.
Yeah. All right.
Is there any other questions in regards to the other 8 phases?
Talk to me about cobblestone.
I'm sorry?
You can talk to me about cobblestone.
Oh, sure. The cobblestone in terms of what it looks like?
Do you know when the aprons went on at the end of the driveway? Have we asked you that before?
I believe you may have asked during the garage review. We couldn't tell when from historic photographs and historic research, we couldn't tell exactly when it was. I was out there this morning taking pictures of the driveways and on the street. across the street from which we worked on the other houses. There's no other aprons, cobblestone aprons on those driveways, which is kind of interesting.
Are there other cobblestone surrounds on driveways?
On that street that I'd see, no, I did not see that.
The Brooks School at the corner, I believe, has some
Yeah.
cobblestone edging on its driveway.
But the direct neighbor to the left has an asphalt driveway. The neighbor to the right, which has a gravel driveway, which is similar to this, didn't have it. Samantha Power's house up there, which we've worked on around the corner, doesn't have it. The two really nice houses to the right of Samantha Power, as you face her house, has just simple driveways with no cobblestone. In terms of when this is dated, it looks like it's been seen seen a lot of days, if that makes sense. It seems like it's been here a while, but I don't think it wasn't part of the project, other projects we've worked on the house before. I know this house has been tinkered with previously before we started working with Nick, but I think that was done long before that. If by looking at its, wear and tear, I'm not a carbonator.
It's been there a while, but I think the commission is firmly against aprons. This is here.
Understood.
So
okay, I thought you.
So we can't. I
understand where you're going. Yeah.
Our request to the client, because we can't force you to take it up, is to know that if you came to us with a blank slate, we'd say absolutely no aprons. It detracts from the house. It's a more recent suburban addition, and we're fighting like heck to keep these out of any houses because that's just not what happened.
I got you.
And so when you redo this driveway, we would suggest to the client to really consider taking these out and not having these suburban touches, if you will, so that the house stands more proudly and is not distracted by these aprons.
Noted. Thank you.
I like the idea of taking these aprons out. It's obviously relatively more expensive, but now that it's been pointed out to me, I can see that the driveway will look a lot better without them, and preserving that original crescent sweep that it had since it was built. So let's if we may amend our proposal at this point, let us take the aprons out. I would be very, very amenable to that. I think that the apron in front of the garage is a little bit different because there we're trying to provide a sort of old world quote, and we want to gentle down the asphalt driveway before it meets the traditional lines, the relatively traditional lines of the garage. So I would represent.
Right.
I would represent that the cobblestones, which will be laid on the end in the old European style and not in the cheaper flat style that the ones on either side of the driveway have, these would be much more traditional looking, being laid on end. It's at 1/3 or so more expensive, but it's well worth it visually. I'd represent that apron could probably be kept while we get rid of the two at the ends of the driveway.
Yeah, I think that's great. I appreciate that. And from my perspective, I want to hear what the commission says, but having a stone apron in front of a garage makes sense to me. I mean, I have an old garage in my house. It's 1910. It's got a stone apron. It's had it there for years and it looks appropriate. It's larger stones, but it's so far from the street. It's not an apron per se that, so if the aprons at the street came out, I think that would be
Thank you for saying that.
a great improvement.
There's also a movement in town to remove as many impermeable surfaces as possible. So I know someone on Belknap Street is talking about proposing something to the town to have a tax on permeable surfaces. Would you consider gravel?
A gravel is an alternative for the driveway?
Yeah.
I like gravel. I actually looked at this very closely with my contractor, and we queried a lot of different subcontractors that do driveways in concrete and in gravel and in asphalt. And the basic conclusion is concrete is way, way more expensive. You can make it look pretty much however you want. You can make it look almost like natural earth. Aesthetically, I would prefer not even a gravel driveway, but an unfinished dirt driveway, the sort of farmyard, something you might see in an old European field. But of course, driving over that and getting somebody to plow it in winter would be totally impractical. This driveway slopes down quite radically from the street, and it is very difficult to keep the gravel in shape. It has actually been difficult to find a company willing to plow it in winter. In this case, I think the asphalt is it's affordable, unlike the concrete, and can be done much quicker than the concrete, which is one other consideration. The concrete takes a very long time to put in. Some of the gravel, the new gravel I've seen, is not always that attractive, and the cobblestone edging that sometimes goes with it is not always attractively handled. So it's also a matter of having confidence that what you ask for will come out as something pleasing. I sort of fought for the gravel driveway for a long time, but I eventually had to yield to the fact that for this location, asphalt is unfortunately just way more practical. And it does come with the slight blessing that over time, the black of the asphalt will tend to wash out and it will gradually go to gray. And then finally, after 15 years or so, you'll start to see the original stones, which if you're lucky, are sort of sandy yellow or reddish. But there does not seem to be any practical way at the present time of specifying the type of stones that are going to be mixed in with the surfacing. So I spent a lot of time trying to get this right, but at the end of the day, the only thing that is both economical and provides a practical service for this particular location is regrettably asphalt, and that's why I went to the cobblestone edging to try to soften the line a little bit.
I'm persuaded by that. Our guidelines state a preference for gravel, but it's not a requirement.
Yep.
I think practically the grade here and the shape of that driveway would make gravel, while it's very attractive when it's first put down, pretty impractical.
This is this on the street. I was looking at walking up and down the street this morning. This house and the house to the right are the only gravel driveways left on the street. It looks like everyone's over time has added asphalt for what that's worth. Any other comments under the other phases, or all phases, or any phases, or? Happy to take any questions and spin you guys around the model if it makes you feel comfortable.
If not, I'll go to any public comments. Don't hear anything. Maybe we could stop screen sharing, Robert, if we could.
Sorry, guys. Oh, good.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think we're at time to make a motion. Bill, it's your turn, I think.
All right.
If you can remember all the security camera location.
Do you need help, Bill?
Well, yeah, correct me as we go along. Move we approve 46 Wood Street with the following modifications. First, for the new garage fixture, that it be limited to 25 watts. It should have a motion detector switch. Second, with regard to cobblestones, that the existing cobblestones that are at the junction of the driveway and the street will be removed. Finally, with respect to security cameras, the housings will be painted to match the wood they're up against, white in the eaves, gray on the walls. The right-hand screen porch will be moved up, nestled into the joists, and the angle bracket taken off. The two porch-mounted cameras will be moved up to screen them from the street, and the camera to the immediate right of the front door will be removed.
And the rear, we have a rear light.
And the rear gets moved off the joist up under the beadboard ceiling.
Is that covered? I think it does.
That's what I have in my notes. For what it's worth.
Sound okay to Peter, to you?
It does, and we appreciate the time spent over this past year.
Great. Could I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thanks, Catherine. Start with you, Catherine.
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Louis.
Aye.
Aye, and I am an aye as well. Thank you very much for your time and patience.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Thank you
Easter.
all.
Thank you. Okay. On to the next. We've got 81 Main Street to remove and replace a sign and post in the Main Street Historic District by Crosby Design, I believe, correct?
Yep. Hi, it's Billy Crosby,
Hi, Billy.
and I think Carl Cusin might be on for questions or so. So we are proposing to the existing Tess and Carlo sign. They've left, and the new store is going in, and it's called Happy on Main. And I think you have the drawings on your side.
Kim, would you like us to bring them up? Billy?
Yeah, if you could, yeah.
Yep.
So that's the Tess and Carlo had the same style letters on their header, which was approved, and we stayed within that limit of what they had before. And yeah, 5.5-inch letters, and it runs I think it says 6 feet across.
I got confused. Is that what's there now? Is that a mock-up? What is that?
That's the new mock-up. We had removed the letters. They needed to repaint the window, and then so the Tess and Carlo letters are off because they're gone, and they took their sign with them. And then so in the existing post was rotted at the bottom, and so we just we made an exact match to the post. Oh, I might have to get turned. And that's the proposal. That's the exact position of the old post that's always been there. And we're going with a new bracket, or we'd like to use a new bracket, which is just the same style bracket that we always use, but it's a Northwood Forge iron bracket, and matches the existing one. It's 30 inches, 36 inches out from the post. And the existing Tess and Carlo sign was a 30 by 35 rectangle. And so I strongly suggested their new logo is a circle. So I said we don't want to go any wider, so we're at 30 by 30. So the old rectangle was bigger than that, and then this would be the inside of the size of the old sign, the existing sign. So it's
how thick is that?
It's 1.5 inches thick Sintra sign, and we've got where their heart logo on the top in the picture would go through, so you could see through it on both sides. So it would be you could kind of put your hand in there if you wanted to, and then and they had an original script like what we're seeing there, and then I sort of talked them into if anybody wanted to read it, to do the on Main in a more of a readable letter, because they're fairly small.
What's the material again for the sign?
It's the PVC sign, and it's double thick, so it's going to be 1.5 inches thick, and then we treat it like all the historic district signs or any other signs that we've been making for the last 10 years. So it's PVC but painted with Southfield green, and just maybe just to soften the edge of the circle slightly, just sanded smooth, so everything's and the satin finish.
Yep, looks very nice. Anything else, Billy, or is that it?
No, just either carved or raised letters, and sometimes we like to do a combo. So the happy would be flush, same as the Concord Museum sign that was approved. So the happy would be raised, and if anybody had a preference, but I like to mix it up a little bit. So the happy would be raised, and then we would carve in the on main on both sides. So we get a couple of different layers, you know.
This is on the blade sign.
Yes, on the blade side. Yeah, and then the other signs, the other ones are just raised, and we would only do those a 1/4 inch thick because the Tess and Carlo letters are fairly thin. They could go a little fatter, but if they're any fatter than a 1/4 of an inch, you start losing the readability of it because you see the sides of the letters are white. So for the flat wall sign, these ones are slightly bigger, I think, than the other ones. So it could be 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, but the idea is you got the main blank, slightly raised letters, not pinned off, or maybe just pinned off just a teeny bit, but so you pick up a little shadow on there, and then the carved letters pick up their own shadows in reverse because they're carved in.
Thank you. Comments?
I have no problem with the signage. I think we've set a precedent for approval of this type of signage in prior applications.
Thank you.
I'm good. Looks nice.
It looks very nice. I see Lewis put his thumb up, so I guess that's. So we're no more comments. Any comments from the public?
No, I'm
No.
Sana McAuliffe,
Say hi to
who's
Sana.
the owner of Happy on Main and born in Concord, and really excited to be joining the community and the commerce here. And thanks to all of you for approval, and I hope everyone has a wonderful celebration this weekend.
Well, we haven't approved it yet.
Oh, Sana,
But
now
you do
you've
look
done it.
happy.
Now I've done it. Now I'm happy. Now I'm
No,
really happy.
it's a very handsome logo and sign. So
Well, thank you to Billy. Yeah, wonderful.
so we'll need a motion.
I could make a motion and give Bill a break. I move that we approve Kusin 81 Main Street happy sign as submitted.
I second it.
Second. Thank you, Catherine. Start with Catherine for votes.
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Bill,
All right.
Lewis, and I am an aye as well. Thank you very much, and good luck with the business.
Thanks so much. See you in a minute.
Thanks, Billy. Okay, last one. We're almost done. We're on 19 Main, 19 Main Street. Again, Billy Crosby
Yes.
to install a blade sign and wall sign.
So this is next to Stretch Concord, and it's actually hopefully she might be.
I'm here.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
Great. This is the owner, and so I guess we just say your wife also runs Stretch Concord, but basically it's the left side of Stretch Concord where all of the signs that were originally for the Concord Community Chest were. And so we were keeping the exact same position and the exact same style size bracket and the flat wall sign. The only difference is now that Stretch Concord is in there, we know it's going to be a smaller sign because Stretch Concord's a little wider, but so we tried to pick a semi-appropriate size for his logo, and then the blade sign would be coming out off the wall exactly where the old, yes, right there, where the old Chamber of Commerce sign was.
Bill, is there a sign there now on the wall?
No, the Chamber of Commerce took their own sign down when they moved out.
So there's no blade sign, no wall sign.
There's no blade sign, no wall sign, no.
But there had been.
They're exactly the same spot where they were, like the same holes. We would be putting the same bracket in the same hole for the wall.
Well, so if you go back to the wall, just the flat view, the Stretch Concord sign is sort of centered on the two right windows the ROI is kind of off center with the door and the window, and just gut reaction looks a little big, slightly big.
Yep. Well,
And I was wondering if could you center that over the door and windows so that's all kind of composed, and possibly make the signs slightly smaller if that helped.
yeah, if that works for Dennis, I was just basically, I had fooled around with it a couple different ways. The chamber sign looked a little bit awkward because the stretch Concord sign was stretched a little bit more, and then it was different. So, you know, maybe it doesn't look that great all lined up, but it seemed like, you know, it was just one of the ideas that we went with. So, Dennis, would you be okay if that was a little smaller?
Yeah, I'm happy to resize it and make it appropriate over the
It
doors.
just looks like just a little bit to make
Yeah,
it
that makes
fit
sense.
under the window.
Yeah, it wouldn't be-
I want to hear what other commissioners say.
I had the same reaction. I think centering it over the door would look better.
Yeah.
You're a more practiced eye than I, but the outline of the sign, I don't know whether it looks better if you make it smaller than Stretch Concord, or it's better to be the same. I was focused on the size of the ROI and of the line chart. I would, even if we keep the outside envelope the same, I think the ROI and the logo is 15% too big, if you will.
Yeah.
Because
I think we could do,
the Stretch Concord has a very nice margin around all.
yeah,
the
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Dennis, is that? feel
Yeah,
good for
that
you?
I'm totally fine to.
So my original one was centered above the door because it draws people up because he's on the second floor, which I think it works. And the only thing that happens is when it got moved over to the center, the gaps, you know, all three gaps were different, and that doesn't mean. But Stretch Concord seemed to fit pretty good over her, you know, centered over her window. So, you know, just the gap would be a little bit tighter. On the left side, and then it would open up a little bit on the right side. But once you get in line with the door and the stairwell goes straight up. I think if that was a little smaller, and as long as it, you know, if we scaled it down a little bit, it would also it would come down a little bit in the height. So if we take just the lettering that Bill was suggesting, bring that down, and we keep the height of the sign, that way we can cheat just the left side over and then center the sign above the window. So it would be dead center between the door and the window, if that's
and lined up horizontally with Stretch Concord, right?
Yes, right. So I you know, I don't, it doesn't matter if it was a little bit smaller, but it seemed a little awkward when I had it smaller and there, because it made Stretch Concord almost look like it was bigger than that one. So you know, I think if we kept the same height, they feel like they're balanced up and down, and then we'll make the letterings, call it 15% smaller, move that to the right, and then center it on the above the door. And I think that's actually a nice suggestion.
Given current markets, is that arrow pointed in the right direction?
Absolutely.
If-
Absolutely.
If one of the screws falls out on the right side.
I think given we're sort of adjusting this verbally, I would suggest that you submit it administratively to Anne for just final check.
Yep.
So that she can bless it.
Yep, I can do that.
And do we have a concern with it having a logo on it?
I mean, we've been approving logos now for a long time, and I think we've switched, at least in our deliberations here, on the size and sort of the size of it as opposed to yes or no. And when we're done here, I've made some notes on updates to our guidelines, but let me not get out of sequence here.
In terms of my company, I've been in the community since 2007. I've actually been at 30 Monument Square across the street. I'm just moving it here. This is a one-man show.
with few admins. This is not a Wall Street
No,
movement.
no
to Main
danger of
Street.
it being a corporate logo quite yet.
Yeah. I'm not moving to Wall Street just yet. Maybe it's someday.
But you have chosen your ticker ID, I bet, right?
Right.
Any public comments? Could we have a motion?
All right, I'll move we approve 19 Main Street with submitted, but with the following changes. The sign outline will remain the same. It will be moved over to be centered over the door. The letters and the logo will be shrunk on the order of 15% to have greater margins around them, the envelope of the sign. And it'll be submitted for administrative final okay.
Second?
A second.
Thank you. Bill,
Yes.
Catherine,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well, so we are finished for tonight. Thank you, Billy, and
Are
good
you
luck,
going to do
Dennis.
minutes?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you so
sorry.
much.
I have one new business item as well, so.
Okay, so we're gonna move to other business. No one else can, other than the commissioners, can drop off. Thank you very much.
Yep. And can I make one just final comment just for the exact, when we make the lettering a little bit smaller, if the sign gets a little less, if the width will come in a little bit, just so
Yeah.
the border feels, I'll even that all out. Is that?
That's
follow what I'm
consistent.
saying?
I personally think if that panel gets slightly smaller, that's okay
Yeah,
myself.
okay. All right, that's great. Thank you.
Tell it to Anne.
Just so I'm not locked in the size. All right, I'm out. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, other business. Bill, you had
Yeah, I
something.
want to maybe suggest that at the end of every meeting, I volunteered to start keeping track of potential changes to the guidelines. And what I thought I'd do at every meeting is just lay out the things I heard in the meeting. And the three I heard tonight are number one, something that's a little clearer on roof styles, hip versus gable, particularly as pertaining to outbuildings. Number two is the notion of brackets and ornamental work, and somehow clarifying the applicability of Department of Interior guidelines and things like that. The third is, Tim, as you mentioned, we say nothing on security cameras, and I think we need to. So those three things will be added to the list. I don't know if I missed any, but those were the three that I wrote down.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I mean, also, I was looking at drives and paving as we were going over that project.
Good point.
And I think we need to comb through that.
Yep.
I find it a
Alright.
bit confusing.
Yep.
And to just have this black asphalt default is I think Louis raised, I mean, where is our position on gravel and the
It's pretty vague. So, okay,
or
I've added the fourth.
rolling in a gravel, a crushed stone or pea stone topping into hot asphalt, which totally changes the look, I think, to much more palatable than this absolute black.
Yeah. So surface as well as aprons were also pretty unclear on the apron.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are also quite a few.
No aprons, so.
There are quite a few newer applications of technology to driveways too that aren't commonly understood. On ours, for example, we're meshed underneath. We have various decreasing sizes of gravel as we come up to the top, and it makes it much, much more stable than otherwise. The same way that there are guidelines available for windows, perhaps it would behoove us to have a short
That's a good idea.
driveway options too.
Yep. Good idea.
I mean, also permeable paving. I don't think there's anything on permeable paving, even though that's not a visual thing. Stuff should be headed in that direction.
Right.
All of Walden Pond parking is permeable paving.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're permeable here, but we're also really stable. So. Good.
Anything else, Bill? I think
Nope,
that's great.
that was it.
Yeah. So we have meeting minutes from 8:28, 10:09, 10:30, 11:13, parentheses, site visits. I'm not sure which is which. A 4:10:24 extra meeting and a 12:4 regular meeting. So we're going back in time quite a ways. I have to confess, I reviewed some, but not all.
I
To
read them all.
Walter, you're the best. Got any comments?
My comments are in terms of attendance. I was reasonably sure that I was actually at 10:30:24, though it's not marked, but that's neither here nor there. Beyond that, I'm fine with everything except, and of course I'm not dated here, the Concord Children's Center, I think has excessive prose on it. And this has to do with, the reason I'm mentioning this is that this is an overall comment on how minutes are described. And what I took note of was talking about the facility, which provides full-day daycare and has been a fixture in the community since 75, 1300 Main Street. Location was built in 2002, and the interior and a portion of the playground were renovated due to increased need for, it seems to go on and on, and that just bears on the
You're just talking about too wordy, is what you're saying.
I'm talking too wordy, but the thrust of the wording is describing things that aren't germane to historic.
Right. Got it.
That's all. Just something
Makes
to think
sense.
about in the future.
Yep.
Other than that, I think the minutes are approvable as they are.
Any other comments on minutes? Do we have a motion
I'll
to
move we
approve the
approve
minutes?
all minutes.
Second?
I second.
Okay, everybody raise their hand, aye.
Aye.
And somebody want a motion to adjourn?
Lewis can do that.
I move that we adjourn. I move that we adjourn.
I second. I can't do that, I don't know.
Good job, committee.
Good job, everybody.
Yeah.
Good job, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thanks. Send Kate hope you're doing okay. She's
Yeah, well,
in
good point.
surgery tomorrow.
Good point. Enjoy
Hopefully
the 250th.
Yeah. See you around.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.